Officer Davis, Officer Martinez, and Officer Lane never expected their shift to turn into a battle for survival, chasing some of the most reckless and dangerous drivers Arkansas has ever seen. Each pursuit pushed them to the edge, testing their skill, courage, and instincts against criminals who would stop at nothing to escape. In the quiet town of Bentonville, Arkansas, the night usually settled like a soft blanket over the streets, leaving only the occasional hum of distant traffic or the flicker of streetlights. But on this particular evening, a black sports car shattered the calm, tearing down the main road at over 120 miles per hour. The vehicle was sleek and almost menacing, its engine growling as it swerved between lanes with reckless precision. Residents peered through their windows in alarm, unsure whether to call the authorities or simply hope the speeding car would pass safely. It was clear immediately that this was not a case of an inexperienced driver showing off. The maneuvers were too calculated, too deliberate. Officer Davis, a veteran of the Bentonville Police Department with years of experience on patrol, was the first to receive the frantic dispatch call. He had chased reckless drivers before, but something about the reports he heard made his instincts sharpen. The dispatcher described a vehicle that seemed impossible to catch, a shadow moving at terrifying speed, endangering anyone on the streets. Davis maneuvered his cruiser into position, lights flashing and siren wailing, signaling the beginning of what would become a legendary pursuit. As he followed the sports car through narrow suburban streets, he noticed how the driver anticipated every turn, drifting around corners with near-perfect control and accelerating just as Davis thought he could close the gap. The chase quickly escalated beyond the usual dangers. The car darted into alleys barely wide enough for two vehicles to pass, narrowly avoiding parked cars and trash bins, then burst back onto main streets where speeding vehicles and pedestrians created unpredictable obstacles. Each time Officer Davis thought he had a chance to corner the driver, the black car seemed to anticipate him, slipping away with almost eerie precision. Residents watched from their porches, some frozen in fear, others gripping their phones to capture what they feared might be a tragedy in progress. The pursuit led onto winding country roads outside the town, where the sports car's speed became even more dangerous. Officer Davis had to make split-second decisions, carefully judging each curve and trying not to lose control himself. The vehicle's tires screeched against asphalt, leaving black streaks behind, a visual warning of the chaos unfolding. Trees blurred past as the car careened around bends, the headlights cutting through the darkness like twin daggers. Each mile felt stretched, each turn filled with tension as though the road itself had become a character in this deadly game of cat and mouse. Then, just when it seemed the chase might continue indefinitely, the driver made a critical miscalculation. Approaching a sharp curve, the sports car's speed proved too great, and the vehicle skidded, fishtailing violently before crashing into a shallow ditch at the side of the road. Officer Davis approached cautiously, adrenaline coursing through his veins, expecting to find a trapped or injured driver, but the car was empty. No one was inside, no footprints, no evidence, nothing to indicate where the driver had gone. It was as if the person had disappeared into the night itself. Tire marks led away from the wreck, but they vanished into the darkness of the surrounding woods. The incident left an unsettling feeling, a question that lingered long after the adrenaline faded. Who was this shadow? And how could someone vanish so completely after such a dangerous and calculated pursuit? The town would talk about that night for weeks. Residents replayed the events in their minds, imagining the driver's skill, daring, and audacity. The chase became a local legend, a story of speed, fear, and a mysterious figure who seemed to move faster than the law itself. Officer Davis would carry the memory for years, haunted by the sight of the empty car and the vanishing driver, a reminder that some criminals are as elusive as shadows slipping away when the world expects them to be caught. Highway 65 stretched straight and wide through the heart of Arkansas, a road designed for smooth travel, not high-stakes chases. On an otherwise ordinary afternoon, that tranquility was shattered when a stolen delivery van appeared on the horizon, barreling toward approaching traffic at nearly 100 miles per hour. The driver's recklessness was immediately apparent. Cars honked frantically, swerving out of the way as the van weaved between lanes with terrifying precision. Officer Martinez, patrolling nearby, spotted the vehicle just in time and began a pursuit that would test both skill and nerves. The van seemed almost aware of the pursuit. Each time Martinez tried to corner it or force it onto the shoulder, the driver reacted with split-second agility, swerving to avoid obstacles while maintaining alarming speed. Guardrails scraped against the van's sides and debris flew into the air as it collided with mailboxes and signs, yet the driver pressed on as if daring the police to stop him. The highway became a stage of chaos, with terrified drivers fleeing in every direction while the van surged forward, a metal predator intent on escape. The sound of engines roaring, tires squealing, and sirens wailing combined into a deafening symphony of danger. As the chase continued for miles, towns along the highway watched in disbelief. Traffic cameras recorded the van's path, but no technology could prevent the near misses and harrowing maneuvers. At one point, the van swerved into a grassy median to avoid a slow-moving truck, narrowly missing a cluster of utility poles. Officer Martinez had to make split-second adjustments, braking and accelerating in rapid succession to keep pace. The adrenaline surged, each second stretched by the tension of life-threatening decisions. The driver's intentions remained unclear, but the pattern suggested desperation, perhaps the product of more than just petty theft. After nearly 15 miles of high-speed pursuit, the van veered off the main road and plunged into a swampy embankment on the outskirts of town. The sudden stop threw the vehicle into a jarring halt, and Martinez approached cautiously, prepared for whatever might emerge. When the doors were opened, it became clear that the situation was far more serious than a simple stolen van. In the cargo area, officers discovered a hidden cache of weapons, including firearms and makeshift explosives, along with stolen goods that hinted at a larger criminal operation. The evidence suggested that the driver was not acting alone and that the pursuit had exposed just a fragment of a wider, more dangerous network. Investigators later pieced together a chilling narrative. The driver, it turned out, had been transporting contraband for a local crime syndicate, moving stolen goods and weapons between towns under the cover of speed and chaos. His reckless driving had endangered countless lives, but it had also brought law enforcement directly into the heart of a larger criminal operation that might otherwise have gone unnoticed. The chase on Highway 65 became a textbook case in both the dangers of high-speed pursuits and the unexpected discoveries that could arise from them. Officers involved would remember the roar of the van, the tension of each turn, and the shock of uncovering a criminal enterprise hidden in plain sight, a stark reminder that what begins as a simple traffic stop can escalate into something far more perilous and revealing. On a bright, sunny afternoon in Little Rock, the streets that normally echoed with the laughter of children walking home from school were suddenly filled with the roar of a red muscle car racing through a quiet neighborhood. The vehicle sped past flashing school zone signs, ignoring the speed bumps and crosswalks that were meant to protect students. Its engine growled with a menacing intensity, and the driver seemed intent on pushing the car and anyone nearby to the absolute limit. Officer Reynolds, stationed a few blocks away, noticed the commotion immediately. Within seconds, the chase was underway, a dangerous game that would test both the officer's skill and nerves. The muscle car darted through residential streets, narrowly avoiding parked cars and weaving past pedestrians who froze in fear. The neighborhood erupted in chaos as drivers honked, children ran for safety, and homeowners peered out of windows, stunned by the audacity of the chase. Each turn seemed calculated, as though the driver had memorized every curve and alley in the area. Officer Reynolds pushed his cruiser to the limits, lights flashing and siren piercing the afternoon calm, desperately trying to keep the vehicle in sight. The streets, narrow and winding, gave the driver an advantage, allowing sudden shifts in direction that made the pursuit unpredictable and nerve-wracking. As the chase intensified, the driver's maneuvers grew more dangerous. He swerved across lanes, clipped curbs, and narrowly missed colliding with utility poles. The tension in the cruiser was palpable. Every second felt stretched, every turn a potential disaster. Officer Reynolds had to anticipate the driver's next move while maintaining control of his own vehicle, balancing the urgency of stopping a reckless driver with the risk of causing a catastrophic accident. The muscle car seemed unstoppable, a blur of red against the calm suburban backdrop, its engine echoing like a warning through the streets. Suddenly, the pursuit took an unexpected turn. The driver accelerated toward a dead-end alley, and it seemed the chase might finally conclude. But instead of surrendering, the car made a daring jump over a barricade, narrowly clearing it before landing in a shallow ditch. The landing sent the vehicle skidding, and Officer Reynolds brought his cruiser to a cautious stop nearby. Emergency personnel arrived quickly, but the driver remained inside the car, conscious yet uncooperative. The adrenaline of the chase was replaced with a chilling realization. This was no ordinary traffic violation. Investigation into the driver revealed a shocking connection. He was not merely a thrill-seeker fleeing the law. He was attempting to escape a dangerous debt owed to a local criminal organization. The high-speed chase through a school zone had been a desperate bid for survival, linking what seemed like a reckless stunt to a broader and more sinister web of organized crime. The muscle car, the dangerous streets, and the near misses with innocent civilians were all part of a story far larger than anyone initially suspected. The pursuit left a lasting impression on the community, a stark reminder of how quickly a single reckless choice could intertwine with hidden dangers, turning ordinary streets into a stage for desperation, crime, and near tragedy. The Arkansas River winds through the state like a ribbon of steel and water, its waterfront roads usually calm and scenic, perfect for evening strolls or weekend drives. On one particular evening, however, the serenity was shattered by the roar of a white SUV speeding along the riverfront, its headlights slicing through the fading light. The vehicle swerved dangerously close to pedestrians and cyclists, its driver seemingly unconcerned with the chaos left in its wake. Officers on patrol quickly spotted the SUV and attempted to intercept it, but the chase was unlike any they had experienced before. The driver moved with an almost uncanny sense of awareness, anticipating each maneuver and evading attempts to block or corner the vehicle. As the pursuit continued, the SUV twisted through winding roads that hugged the riverbank, narrowly missing sharp bends and protruding guardrails. The roar of the engine echoed against the water, blending with the frantic sound of sirens and shouting dispatchers. Officer Thompson, leading the chase, had to adjust constantly, calculating angles and speeds to avoid disaster. Each turn and acceleration seemed to push both the officers and the driver to the brink of control, testing reflexes and nerves alike. Onlookers along the riverfront froze in shock, watching a scene that seemed more like a movie than real life, as the SUV twisted and darted with lethal precision. Suddenly, the driver made a move that caught everyone by surprise. The SUV rammed into a ferry docked along the river, sending a shockwave through the deck and causing passengers to scramble for safety. Officer Thompson had to brake sharply to avoid a collision, adrenaline surging as he realized just how reckless and dangerous the pursuit had become. The impact caused a momentary pause, giving the SUV a brief advantage, but the chase was far from over. The vehicle lurched away from the ferry and continued along the waterfront, weaving between parked boats and narrow access roads, as if the driver had a preternatural knowledge of the area. Eventually, the SUV was forced to a stop, and officers approached cautiously, the tension thick in the air. When the vehicle was searched, authorities discovered a hidden compartment filled with forged documents, counterfeit cash, and other items that suggested a much larger criminal operation. The revelation transformed what had seemed like a reckless joyride into the exposure of an underground network operating across multiple states. Each piece of evidence hinted at a level of sophistication and planning that the initial pursuit had never suggested. The riverfront chase became a story of danger, skill, and unexpected discovery. Officers involved would remember the roar of the SUV, the unpredictability of the driver, and the moment when a seemingly random high-speed pursuit revealed a larger criminal enterprise. The incident highlighted the razor-thin margin between control and chaos, showing how a single vehicle on a waterfront road could uncover a web of deception and crime hidden beneath the surface. It was a pursuit that tested the limits of law enforcement and left an indelible mark on the community, a reminder that danger can strike even in the most picturesque settings and that some criminals will go to extraordinary lengths to evade capture. The storm that rolled over Fayetteville that night turned the roads into slick, reflective surfaces, shimmering under the glare of streetlights and the flashing lights of police cruisers. Rain fell in sheets, reducing visibility to a few yards and turning every maneuver into a dangerous gamble. A pickup truck, loaded with stolen electronics, tore through the wet streets, its tires kicking up water like small waves. Officers quickly identified the vehicle and pursued, knowing that at such speeds and in such conditions, a single mistake could have deadly consequences. The driver seemed undeterred by the storm, pressing the accelerator as if daring anyone to stop him. The chase was tense from the start. The truck swerved violently to avoid other vehicles and puddles, sliding perilously close to the curbs and utility poles lining the streets. Officer Lane, leading the pursuit, had to calculate every movement with extreme precision, balancing the need to apprehend the suspect with the risk of losing control on the slick roads. Each second stretched into an eternity, the roar of engines and the pounding of rain combining into a deafening symphony of chaos. Residents watched from their windows, heartbeats rising as the truck hurtled past, leaving a trail of water and danger in its wake. As the pursuit continued, the driver's desperation became evident. He attempted to ram a police cruiser at one point, forcing Officer Lane to execute a risky maneuver to avoid collision while keeping the truck in sight. The rain made braking difficult, and every turn carried the threat of a spin-out or crash. The streets twisted and turned, creating moments where the chase could have ended in tragedy, yet somehow the truck stayed on course. It was a battle of wits and reflexes, each side pushing the limits of what was possible under such hazardous conditions. Eventually, the pickup truck skidded around a corner and Officer Lane saw an opening. Using years of experience and precise timing, he managed to force the truck off the road. The vehicle came to a stop, tires spinning in mud and water, while officers approached with caution, fully aware of the danger that might still lie inside. When the doors were opened, it became clear that the story behind the chase was far more complex than anyone had realized. Hidden in the back seat were two teenagers, frightened and confused, coerced into participating in the theft and the dangerous flight from the law. The driver had used them as pawns, manipulating their fear to maintain control while committing crimes across the city. The aftermath revealed layers of deception and manipulation. The driver was arrested, but the investigation uncovered a disturbing network of coercion, theft, and exploitation. The chase, which had seemed at first like a simple high-speed pursuit, exposed the human cost behind criminal acts and the lengths to which some would go to escape consequences. Officers involved remembered the slick roads, the relentless rain, and the moments when control seemed impossible, but they also recognized the importance of vigilance and courage in stopping not only a crime, but the cycle of danger and exploitation it represented. The stormy night left an indelible mark, a reminder of the unpredictable and sometimes tragic nature of high-speed pursuits, and of the fragile line between pursuit, survival, and catastrophe.